Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. And for those of you who are new here, my name is Miranda, and I am the Enchantress of Avalon. And for today's Frightful Friday, I am bringing another Gothic video. So I've been doing this series of Gothic romance videos. I don't know if you've seen any of them yet, but this is the fourth of the series, so you could pop over to my channel, and I have an entire playlist of all the videos so far. And for today's video, we are doing another one of my favorites. And this is Oscar Wilde, The Picture of Dorian Gray. And this is my very pretty copy of it with silver gilt edges. Very pretty. So, Dorian Gray is one of those stories that I feel a lot of people know the basics of, but I don't know if there's a lot of people that have actually read the original text because it is so good. And this is like my pretty copy, but I also have a copy of the un like the unofficial text. It's basically all of the stuff that had to get edited out for Victorian audiences put back in. So I don't know if they were considering it like it's the unrated text essentially. It's really, really good, and I highly recommend reading any version you can get your hands on because it's incredible. And Oscar Wilde's great. I mean, Oscar Wilde has this reputation for his social commentary with good reason. He did social commentary right, and he was so ahead of his time in many, many ways. Now, Dorian Gray, though, is kind of his ultimate social commentary. He is commenting on the society of Victorian social mores in this really, really screwed up way. And the story of Dorian Gray, for those who might not be familiar with the basic tale, is a story of a young man named Dorian who is really, really beautiful. He's straight up pretty. And all of these other men in his life who are either gay or bisexual keep telling him how beautiful he is. And one of them is a painter, and he wants to paint Dorian. And after a little convincing, Dorian's like, okay, fine, paint me. And Dorian loves this picture so much, but he's angry about it because this picture will always be this beautiful. But he knows ultimately he's a human. He'll grow old and he will age, and aging will change his appearance. He won't be as beautiful as that picture for long. And that is the primary crux of the tale, really. Somehow, it's never really explained, but somehow within this tale, within this like wanting to switch places with the picture, it works. Dorian realizes one day, because he gets the picture and he puts it in this like closet or in a room that's not used much, and he goes and sees it. And one day after he's done terrible things, goes to look at the picture, like he does, and it's changed. There are scars on the picture forming on his face, lines forming on his face, and he's realizing quite quickly the atrocities he's committing, these terrible acts, as he's letting himself get more into this realm of vice and pleasure in the most hedonistic sense of it, that should be impacting him like it's impacting the people he's partying with. It isn't. Instead, it's only showing up on the picture. So we have this cursed portrait that's taking the brunt of all of Dorian's evils. And so Dorian still looks like this beautiful man. But in reality, he's so fucking twisted. And he does a lot of terrible things throughout the novel. He even pushes a woman to suicide. Yeah, that's a thing. I'm not going to get deep into any of the terrible things he does because I want to talk about more the overarching expose on vanity that this story is. It's about the evils of vanity. It's about why it's so bad to be tied up only in your appearance, because Dorian never really sees himself as anything other than beautiful. He doesn't develop interests in anything other than hedonistic pleasure. He doesn't develop interests that would expand his mind or develop his personality more fully. He just keeps obsessing about his own physical beauty. And since his physical beauty isn't changing, he can keep obsessing about that and never develop a really good personality, which we see. Like, there are excerpts where people want to talk about, history, philosophy, and all these interesting topics. Dorian doesn't care about any of that. He's purely a creature of vanity. And it's about the evils of being just purely vain. Not that Oscar Wilde was necessarily against vanity. I think he was against vanity in the terms of being vain and only being vain. Because while Oscar Wilde was very flamboyant and very much a person of putting his best face forward, and, he liked pretty things, he liked being beautiful, he liked all of these things. I mean, he was a gay man living in Victorian era England, and he was originally from Ireland. So he was different than his comrades. But he liked that in the Victorian era, men could dress very nicely, and he did dress very nicely. And he was very much ingrained in this culture. But he also saw the flaws of it. He saw the people who only prided themselves on their looks and didn't develop anything else. Oscar Wilde was really deep. I mean, he may have been vain and he may have had a lot of the trappings of the characters that he's writing about, but he wasn't just vain. He wasn't just any one thing. He was a complex individual and a brilliant mind. And I think that was really what his point of making vanity so evil in this text was. Not just that vanity's wrong, because vanity has its place, but specifically that being vain with no other attributes to your name makes you a boring person and could turn you into an evil person. And that's what happens with Dorian. He betrays everyone in his life at different points in this book. He betrays the people that have been there for him all along, and he betrays the people who want to be there for him in the future. Essentially, we learn it's a very lonely existence when you're only out for keeping yourself young and beautiful. So, it's a truly tragic tale. Beyond being gothic horror, which it is, it's what happens to him, like what he starts doing is horrific. The way the portrait's described as changing is horrific, which is why a lot of things that show Dorian Gray, because he's used in a lot of these great Monster Mash type things. He's a character in The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. He's a character on the show Penny Dreadful. It avoids showing you his portrait, or at least for a long time does, because it's the shock value of this is what he looks like. He's a beautiful man, but this is what his soul is. The portrait shows his inner darkness, his inner soul, and it is terrible. Like, the things he has done are utterly, unforgivably horrific. And we need to remember that, because that's the real Dorian, not the pretty man. The real Dorian is the fucked up individual who had his soul looking like that. And that is tragic. And the things that happen to the people who try to get close to him, those things are tragic. It's both a gothic romance story, a horror, that horrific gothic romance, as well as being a tragedy. And it's a beautiful book. I think it also is possibly showing the way Oscar Wilde himself felt, being this artist who was gay, living in a time when being gay was literally illegal. And I think he put a lot of that into this. Like, a lot of the anxiety in this book is based on, these men loving Dorian and women loving Dorian, like these people being in love with Dorian, but him never being able to accept them and him hurting them, because Oscar Wilde himself had been through that. He had been in love with men who ultimately would hurt him. His entire trial was because of something like this, because he did famously go on trial. And I think that, as every really great work of literature does, it, besides being a great story to read, it tells us about the author, and it tells us about the era in which the author was writing this, what was going through their mind, and the societal differences and pressures of that time. So that is partially why this is such a powerful work, and partially why it's something in the idiom. Like, everyone knows who Dorian Gray is. If you've read the book or not, you've probably heard the name Dorian Gray. And I highly recommend reading the book. I didn't go into many even spoilers about the book other than the cursed picture, but everyone knows that. Because this book, it's meant to be experienced. And it's meant to make you think. And my gosh, does it ever make you think. It's a gripping ride, and I suggest reading this. And also, watch Penny Dreadful, watch The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, see how his character is used and how it's gone on to inspire other creators to this day. So, I hope you've liked this video, and if you have, please like, comment, subscribe, and check out my blog, whiteroseofavalon.life. I'm gonna link some blog posts that have that are somehow related to Dorian Gray in the description box below. So I hope you have a great day and a fabulous, frightful Friday. Bye now.